Turns out Donald Trump was right. There was plenty of cheating at the last US election. But it wasn't the kind of cheating that he claims. I always thought that Trump was off the planet with his conspiracy theory about rigged ballot machines and all that malarkey. Bit of an embarrassment. No, the cheating that I'm talking about was by the media, was by social media giants too, like Twitter and Facebook, and by senior US intelligence figures, and by Joe Biden himself. Now, you might say, oh, this sounds like another conspiracy theory when I put it all like that, but I tell you what, it was all done in plain sight, caught on tape, as I'm about to show you. And now it's being exposed or admitted, including by media and social media organisations who are actually part of it. Now, this week, a new book is out and it helps to blow the lid off this. It's by a journalist called Ben Schreckinger. I actually talked to him about all this on my show this week. His book is called The Bidens, Inside the First Family's 50-Year Rise to Power. And it's already making some headlines, and not surprisingly. Now, Schreckinger actually works for Politico, which is a political news site, which I think is fair to say leans left. And last year was one of the first news organisations to run the big lie to save Joe Biden's election campaign, just when it looked like it was about to be destroyed. But it wasn't just Politico, which to its credit, or Schreckinger's credit, is now coming clean a bit on what happened. Because I'm talking here about the most amazing suppression of news, of a truth that threatened Joe Biden. And it was done by almost all the mainstream media, plus the big tech giants. And this incredible story is really disturbing. It's a huge red light, a warning on how easily the truth can be suppressed by a mainstream media that puts politics now over journalism. You will recall last October, the New York Post reported that it had been handed emails by Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani that had been found on a laptop abandoned by Hunter Biden, son of now President Joe Biden. And these emails, well, they spelt real trouble for the Biden campaign. The emails about Hunter Biden's drug taking, prostitutes, they weren't important. Interesting, not important. Much more significant were emails on this laptop about Hunter using, allegedly, his father's position as then vice president to land contracts with Chinese companies. He's even talking about hitching a ride to China with his dad, allegedly cutting his father in on the deal they got there. There's one email that Schreckinger has confirmed beyond doubt is genuine that has Hunter saying that he would hold 10% equity in a Chinese deal that had struck for the big guy, apparently for his father, although Joe Biden's spokespeople deny he even considered going into any deal with his son. Another email, which Schreckinger has also verified, is a Ukrainian businessman thanking Hunter Biden for arranging a meeting between this man and Joe Biden, as again, vice president in the Obama administration, with oversight of Ukrainian policy. Now, the issue with that email is that this businessman was a top executive at a Ukrainian gas company, Burisma, that was being investigated for alleged corruption. And Burisma had, for some strange reason, appointed Hunter Biden to its board on a big salary, even though he spoke no Ukrainian and had no expertise in gas. Again, Joe Biden's spokespeople say, well, there's no record of any such meeting with this businessman, not in Joe Biden's official schedule, to which some cynics might say, who'd be dumb enough to record that meeting? Anyway, all this obviously stank. These emails suggested a gross misuse of power, possibly corruption. Although, again, Joe Biden denies that, and as yet there's no hard evidence of it either. So, for Joe Biden, this laptop story, these emails, they looked like possibly costing him the election last year. I mean, all this broke less than 2 months out from Election Day. And the mainstream media, the media left, they knew this. They freaked. They didn't want Donald Trump to win the election. They'd just spent years campaigning against him. And they did not now want to help him by reporting these emails and asking Biden tough questions about them. So let me tell you how this story was killed just in time to save the election for Joe Biden. For one, Politico, it broke stunning news, fake news we now know. Very senior former intelligence officers, more than 50 of them, including 5 former CIA chiefs or acting chiefs, had written a joint letter claiming that this laptop was probably fake. The whole thing had the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation plot. Not that any of these intelligence officials had actually bothered to check all that. Oh no. That didn't matter because the grateful media just swallowed that welcome fake news, like CNN.
Serious questions tonight about whether the Russians are using Rudy Giuliani to interfere in the U.S. presidential election. CNN senior national security correspondent Alex Marquardt is joining us. Alex, there are fears that what Giuliani is now pushing here in the United States could actually be part of Russia's latest and very massive disinformation campaign in the U.S. presidential election.
Massive indeed, Wolf. We do know that it's a very active Russian campaign. That's according to the U.S. intelligence community.
Yes, you just heard CNN there actually say back then it knew this was a Russian plot, Russian misinformation. Its own intelligence sources had confirmed it, which makes me wonder whether those sources ever existed. Media outlets like NPR publicly announced they had no interest at all in covering the story. And senior journalists like CNN's Christiane Amanpour were absolutely determined not to check even whether these emails that were raising very serious questions were in fact true, as indeed they've since been proved.
China keeps doing shady business deals with communist China. You're comfortable, okay?
As you know perfectly well, I'm a journalist and a reporter, and I follow the facts. And there has never been any issues in terms of corruption. Now, let me ask you this. Yesterday, the FBI...
Wait. How do you know that?
I'm talking about reporting and any evidence. I'm talking to you now.
Okay, I would love if you guys would start doing that digging and start doing that verification.
No, we're not going to do your work for you. I want to ask you a question. The FBI,
it's a journalist's job. It's a journalist's job to find out if this is verified.
Here's a tip for Amanpour. If that is what you call journalism, to me, you're not a journalist at all. But it got worse. Facebook and Twitter stopped people from even sharing the New York Post story on the emails, and Twitter shut the paper's Twitter account. Yeah, I know. Twitter boss Jack Dorsey since said Twitter made a mistake. Just how, he didn't explain. But that apology came only after the damage was done and Biden safely elected. Job done. Now, this suppression of the laptop story was so shameless, so brazen, that the moderator of the last presidential debate, NBC's Kristen Welker, she even tried to stop Trump from talking about this. She was much more concerned about trying to nail him on race politics, it seemed to me, while Joe Biden simply lied.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
Right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody. President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
Except it wasn't, because there have been articles, many since the election, that confirmed the key emails were actually genuine. The laptop was Hunter Biden's. And Schreckinger's book this week simply confirms the same thing. But like I said, this time the admission comes even from the left. And Schreckinger is shy about drawing some of the obvious conclusions about how the media helped to, well, steal the election? I don't know. What do you call it? Rig it for Joe Biden. Now, I don't think New York Post writer Miranda Devine will be quite so shy with all that, with her own book due out in November, Laptop from Hell, Hunter Biden, Big Tech and the Dirty Secrets the President Tried to Hide. But what happened with this laptop story is so sinister and so important that it should be beyond partisan politics, partisan reporting, left, right. What we saw last year, all of us, was simply censorship and disinformation by people, journalists particularly, you should expect actually tell you the truth. You should demand that they tell you the truth, tell you the news. But how often do we now see this? Journalists and tech giants, almost all of the left, deciding to tell the public only what's in their political interests for you to know. They've decided what you should think on politics, race, global warming, and they do not trust you to think for yourself, which means for them not giving you information that might just give you the so-called wrong idea. Journalism is gone and propaganda is in.